But in the streets, it's a different dictation. Because street niggas always told me, nigga, you raised me. You know how many New York niggas told me that I raised them?
Because you a New York nigga.
Not because of them, because of their mama.
So I reclaimed you.
Right, but I'm saying, like, for example, A$AP Rocky, Bobby Shmurda, them two niggas specifically.
Crips.
But they telling me, nigga, you raised me through my mama playing your music when I was a little kid. So if your mama was playing it and she from New York, that means Snoop Dogg is loved by New York.
Including helped to found it, who has had a distinguished political career in her own right and has of late been taking the lead on this issue of violence against women, C Delores Tucker. Let's bring on.
First of all, I want to say that Reverend Jesse Jackson and the National Rainbow Coalition are to be commended for their foresight in addressing the #1 domestic problem in this nation, violence in America. The National Political Congress of Black Women is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization created in 1984 at the suggestion of Reverend Jackson at the 1984 Democratic National Convention to empower African American women economically and politically. Its founding members do include some of the most prominent and concerned women in America, including Mary Berry and Dr. Dorothy Height, our mayor of this city, Alexis Herman, Dr. Gloria A. Toot, Jewel Jackson McCabe, Reverend Willie Barrow, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, Eleanor Holmes Norton, Curtis Collins, and Congresswoman Barbara Rose Collins. We embrace and salute the goals of this conference. Today we have all come together to join forces to address the issue of violence in the nation. A violence which has decimated our communities, devastated our families, and destroyed the souls of so many of our youth. It is imperative that we stop the agendas that are not too relevant as this, that we stop pondering over the issue of space exploration, that we stop debating whose diary we should publicize, that we stop arguing over what choices each lifestyle has. For today we must be serious about this serious situation, this plague, this death to our society. Our greatest fear right here in America is not from hurricanes or earthquakes, not from disease or war, but from violence one against the other. We must understand clearly that violence comes in many forms and is acted upon by many sources. Whether we are talking about physical violence, spiritual violence, economic violence, or sexual violence, the end result is the same, the destruction of human life. Enough is enough.
He says she did her best to cover the bruises.
Those couple black guys was a doozy. They were kicking, punching, pull hair.
I always saw the after effect of Michelle and Dre's, their mishaps. You know, all you can do is be a friend.
And I'd like someone to bring me what made me say enough is enough. Where's my graphic? Bring it up here, please, somebody. I am here to put the nation on notice that violence perpetuated against women through the music industry in the forms of gangsta rap and misogynist lyrics will not be tolerated any longer. Principle must come before profit. A year ago, I established the National Political Congress of Black Women's Entertainment Commission, headed by Dionne Warwick, Melba Moore, Terry Rossi of Billboard magazine, and Vaughn Alexander, our director. It had one primary goal: the task of examining and developing strategies and solutions for reshaping and maintaining positive images to preserve the dignity and the heritage of our youth, instead of continuously exposing our youth to negative media that distorts their images of male-female relationships, that undermines the stability of our families, communities, and nation by encouraging violence, abuse, and sexism as acceptable behaviors, and perpetuates the cycle of low self-esteem of African American youth. Thus, images that degrade our dignity and are an insult to our children, our families, and communities concern us too.
As an artist yourself, how do you feel about some of the lyrics in rap music? Because I read some of them and I was, as a woman, offended because some of them are offensive to women. How do you feel about those lyrics?
I don't think that those lyrics apply to me. For you wonder why they call you bitch. I don't think that applies to me.
And apparently that one infamous scene with the credit card, allegedly that was your idea?
No. Well, okay.
Knives or drugs, and denigrates and defames women. And with the release of Snoop Doggy Dogg's debut album, Doggy Style, that includes artwork that is nothing but pornographic smut, available to any child to go in and buy with the album and with a record.
Is it okay if I call her one? Funky dog head bitch. How dare you try to tarnish my motherfucking homeboy's reputation, punk motherfucker. Respect the family and back off, bitch, before we come get you.
Dre assaulted her, grabbing her hair, slamming her face and body into a wall, and kicking her in the ribs. But here's what NWA themselves had to say about the incident back in March.
That's what she get. I hope she did it again. She got beat down.
What was that, Ren?
Huh?
What did she do that
What did she do?
What did she do that created the situation that made it that bad?
Try to make us look stupid. Trying to play us. Is that national TV?
And while I was talking to this person, Dre approached.
And what did he do? Did he say anything?
Just grabbed me.
That has got to stop. You want to know why I'm on the warpath? When I saw this, I said, that's it. We march again. And we're going to keep on marching and demonstrating the truth stuff. For 400 years, profit came before principle, as black women bore the brunt of slave masters' degradation. But even through the Middle Passage, the peculiar institution of slavery, the spirit of black women and their families could not be broken. Today, however, through the lyrics of rappers who display no respect for women, no respect for families, and little respect for themselves, the souls of our sisters are being destroyed, and so too their progeny. All of us have watched as the industry have grown. We have watched not really knowing, not really understanding, not first realizing the damage that is inherent in what some thought were merely words. Now we see the direct and indirect effects. We see the rise in murders, in abuse, in batterings, teen prostitution, and teen suicide. We hear the wailing mothers, the grieving sisters, the tormented brothers and fathers, and children planning their own funerals with pink dresses and pink caskets. We feel their hopelessness and helplessness, and we embrace their pain. Yet in the midst of these tragedies, others still want to argue about the First Amendment right to freedom of speech, a freedom they have embraced to call African American women hoes and bitches and sluts and even worse. As I see it, there are three things wrong with gangster rap and misogynist lyrics. It is obscene, It is obscene. It is obscene.
Snoop Dogg,
Yes.
whose debut album was called Doggy Style, has had hits like Let's Get Blown and Sexual Eruption, is taking issue with Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion's #1 hit, WAP.
I just think that Snoop needs to listen to his old stuff.
Like, slow down. Slow down, and let's have some imagination. Let's have some, some privacy, some intimacy, where he wants to find out as opposed to you telling him.
In my view, it was never intended by the founding fathers of this nation that First Amendment rights were meant to protect obscenities. And if there were founding mothers, it would have been more explicit about what the First Amendment meant. Obscenity,
I'm not sure I know that part.
Obscenity has long been an exemption. Obscenity, and we have the Attorney General here, I believe it's right. Obscenity has long been an exception to free speech. If the filth that is portrayed in these gangster rap videos and art is not obscene, then I submit that nothing is obscene.
Even to this day, I have so much respect for Dre. What I couldn't figure out is why he never could give me the same music that he gave Snoop and him to rap on. And he always used to tell me, I don't know what to do with you, Jewel. And I'm like, give me the rap beats. Let me sing on those. You know what I'm saying? But he's such a musical genius, you can't rush his process. He's slow as hell, though. But it's worth the wait, because he's going to come up with a hit. You know what I mean? So, I have always had a lot of respect for Dre. But he did hurt me one night because we had went to Miyagi's on Sunset. That's where, a lot of the artists and people that was like making it. That's where they hung out. And I saw him there one night after I lost a gang of weight. And, he came up to me and Lachelle was with me. And, when we saw him, it was like all love and hugs and everything. And he was like, let me talk to you. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting all excited. I'm like, it's going down. Because this was like after Suge and Death Row, had broke up and everything. So in my mind, I'm like, shit, Dre finna put out my album. I'm finna be on and cracking. Man, he was like, what's up, Dre? I'm like, what's up? What's up, Dre? He's like, you look good. I'm like, thank you, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm looking at him like a brother, you know what I mean? I'm like, thank you, lost weight. And he was like, my girl Vivian over there. He's like, I want to do a threesome with you. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, did I just hear him say a threesome? So I'm trying to, be calm or whatever. And I'm like, Dre, I look at you like a brother. You like my brother. I was like, no, that'll mess up our friendship, our relationship. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, okay. He's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. And I gave him a hug. And in my heart was hurt. Because every time they need me, I was always there for them. So that kind of hurt me. But I still have a lot of respect for him. But it just hurt me that every time I ask my West Coast niggas, you know what I'm saying, give me a verse, or everybody's always busy. So when you really respect somebody and they come at you like that, it throws you off, because I loved him like a brother.
Important to ban speech that is dehumanizing to women than to protect free speech. African American women have always been the protector and nurturers of their homes, their families, and their communities. We march for our rights to Selma. I was there with Dr. King. We're beaten with billy clubs, and we're bitten with dogs unleashed by bull counters. We will not tolerate injustice and insults from our worst enemies then, and we sure ain't gonna accept insults from our youth now.
All right. Okay.
The MPCBW condemns the actions of those young people who produce such music. We also realize that we must provide other channels for them to use these multiple talents they have in a positive and wholesome way. After all, they are not the root causes of the complex socioeconomic forces that are manifested in such vile entertainment. Those problems were there long before many of them were born. Those problems must be addressed if the communities that produce those gangster rappers are to survive and thrive. We know some of the problems, and now on behalf of NPCBW, I will offer up some solutions so that we can help turn this nation around and communities around. First of all, we must use all means possible to eradicate and ban the sale of illegal guns. We must remove guns from the hands of our children and our gangsters who are so proud of the power of the gun. That's number one. Number two, we must reinvent our educational system to include more vocational training to provide a successful transition between school and work for those who will not continue to go on to college. We must extend the school hours in the school year so that latchkey children teachers will be from their schools instead of from the street. We must provide educational opportunities for our prisoners so that they will be productive citizens when their tour of prison is over. I met with Senator Carol Mosley Braun, and I was very pleased to amend what she was introducing to the Senate, not only educational opportunities, but training opportunities as well. And she has proposed mandated training for all prisoners in education. Now, we must provide...
C Delores, now you don't have to say everything you want to say this time. You'll get to talk again.
Well, I've just got one more page, and may I finish? I wait a long time to come, and let me just finish it. Please.
Okay, well, if you can
I only got one more little page here. All right. To provide community outreaches so that our youth who have embraced the gangs as their only family will find refuge in community institutions, neighborhood academies, and educational programs. Convert our unused military bases into institutions of peace, where men and women can be trained to become productive citizens who will contribute to the well-being of this nation, expand our nation's infrastructure where needed, and make this nation a powerful global force. I stand before you today with millions of my sisters to say that no one has the right to degrade, denigrate, dishonor, or disrespect African American women. No one has the right to poison our children's mind and destroy our African cultural heritage. That is why the women of NPCBW and our supporters will demonstrate. We'll go to jail again and again and again, just as we did when we demonstrated at the Wiz in December and Sam Goody yesterday. No one and no industry will be allowed to continue this social and psychological genocide of the women and girls of this nation. Stand before you today with the spirits of Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Mary McLeod Bethune to say this: we will defy any force that will disrespect us and our families, and I apologize, Mary Berry, my good friend and founder.
So, when you were refamiliarizing yourself with her, did you come across much about this meeting that she had with Suge Knight?
No.
Okay, so again, in sort of a big to-do that was meant to, I think, be a meeting of, people to cause some media attention around this thing. Like, it was probably in '95, and I think she brought Dionne Warwick and Melba Moore, so two very famous singers, performers, and people she was friends with, and they had this meeting with him where they pitched him on the idea of basically leaving Death Row and all this music that he put out because he was such an effective marketer and businessman. Come with them and instead do a black-owned record label that would essentially be positive music. And so he took the meeting, I think, because probably he knew that would gain a lot of publicity for him, and that's one of the things he loved quite a lot. And he's still around, I guess. Not fair to say loved. Well, it's fair. It's fair. Not correct.
He still loves publicity.
He still loves publicity.
Also, beating people up. We'll take that out.
So he takes this meeting, sort of unclear exactly what comes out of the meeting in the conversation, but he sort of suggests to them, I think they walk away from it feeling like, okay, this went well. There may be something here. He can help use distribution channels that he's familiar with. He can, this will just be a big story, and so people will be really excited about this because Suge Knight meeting with C Delores Tucker and then starting a record label with her that's supported by Dionne Warwick. It's just like a huge thing. Instead, what he does is he walks away from that meeting and claims that she was trying to extort him and sues her for extortion, saying that in the meeting she had said something to the effect of, look, if you don't stop making the kind of music and distributing the kind of music that you're making, then we're going to really pressure the people that we're working with, these politicians, to put the boot down on you and really make this hard for you. Wow. So that's his claim out of that conversation. So he sues her for extortion, then goes and hires a private investigator, this really nasty firm in San Francisco, to dig up all the dirt that they possibly can find about her. And there is some. Then he starts releasing the details of that investigation, including if you read about her, there's a lot about her having been accused of being a slumlord in the 60s and 70s, I think. She'd inherited a lot of buildings in very low income areas, and they apparently were not well maintained.
Her husband's really big in real estate in Pennsylvania, and that probably makes it a little easier to hang that on her.
There you go. He essentially found through this investigation also that she had sort of exaggerated her educational credentials. She always went by the Honorable Dr. C Delores Tucker, and those were just...
I saw that she had 2 honorary degrees, one of them from Cal State University in Northridge, so...
See, son. You know what? 2 more than I have. And so I remember this line very well, and I always, I just remember thinking, wow, that's quite a zing. He said, it turns out Dr. Delores Tucker's about as much of a doctor as Dr. Dre. And I remember that being frequently quoted, in that time. Yeah, so that meeting that she had set up and I think walked away from thinking had gone well, turned out to sort of, in a lot of ways, be, I think, the nail in the coffin on this story, on this piece of that story. So there were these, I'd say about 3 years there where she was a presence and kind of pushing this conversation in this direction. And not that she went away entirely after that, but you didn't really hear much about her after that. It sort of seemed like that people were readily accepting of the idea that Suge Knight had just kind of exposed her as being a fraud. That she was, in addition to having misrepresented herself in some ways or having been a slumlord or accused of being a slumlord, that she also was, on top of it all, trying to shut down what was a black-owned record label, and do damage to these young black artists, which, of course, is only one side of that story. You see that it's sad. No matter if you think that she was right or wrong, or 100% right or wrong, that you see that, that she was not all wrong or not all right, and that for there to be no more conversation about it as she sort of fizzled out of the narrative because of this thing that Suge Knight was able to do with her publicly, I think that ends up being sad.
Yeah, I think they could have done a lot of good. I do believe that music can be a positive and a motivating and an inspiring force for good, and that they could have done good things together. Odd as that sounds, and it's tough for me to say that and to reconcile it, because I've already said I really don't believe that music is a force of harm. I don't think it encourages people to do wrong. I know that may sound inconsistent, but I believe it can only be a positive force.
Yeah, she claimed to have seen, firsthand some of the effects of the coarsening of the culture, because she was a not literally the parent, but I think she took in the children of a lot of her nieces and nephews and sort of people in her family. And she said, I read one thing where she was talking about having watched the direction that different kids that she was caring for had gone and some of the decisions that they had made. And she, for whatever reason, really thought that these were decisions that were led in great part by people's self-esteem being lowered by being entrenched in this kind of music or this culture. And so I think, at least in her telling of it, a big part of what inspired her to be a crusader against gangster rap was having seen these people in her life make these decisions, and for her to personally associate it with the music and the culture they were steeped in.
Thinking about what I said about how I don't think there can be a negative impact from music, I think I have a blind spot there, because I can see how if you're a young woman and you're constantly hearing yourself called, the words in a lot of hip-hop songs from that era especially, I can see how that could be bad for self-esteem, and having, boys repeat it or think it's okay to talk that way, I can see how that would hit your self-esteem.
And young people, all of them were trying to avoid her because they did not want to be seen talking or communicating to her, because they did not want the entertainment industry to deprive them of the clothes that they were getting from the entertainment industry.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
The entertainment industry called my wife, late wife, down to the Watergate Hotel. I don't know whether you know what the Watergate Hotel
I've heard of it. Yes, sir.
in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
They called her to the Watergate Hotel. It was about 7 of them, industry people, and asked her what she wanted to stop her crusade against them. Because as one executive said to her, you are interfering with billions of dollars in money of what you're doing. And they wanted to know what she wanted to stop. And she said, I don't want anything from you. All I want you to do is to stop the music. That was her response to them.
And I want to make it clear, she wasn't against the format of the music. She
No.
was against the lyrics that disparage black people.
Yeah, and of course this is something that very few people are aware of. In fact, the public has no awareness, but it can be confirmed. If you ever have a chance to talk to Suge Knight, and I know you know who Suge Knight is.
Yes, sir.
She had a good relationship with Suge Knight. And I know you would say, well, how could that be? That's not what the press said. But if you ever talk to Suge Knight, he's still living. He would say that C Delores Tuckers was a woman that he respected, that he admired, and he treated her like he would treat his own mother. That's the kind of relationship she had with Suge Knight. And he was in the business of trying to change his music. She told him, keep the beat, but stop the lyrics. And he said, I can do that.
Wow, I never would have known that.
Never talked. And when Suge Knight was sentenced, the first time he was convicted in Los Angeles, the judge asked him, Mr. Knight, is there anyone you would want to speak to before you have to be discharged from the courtroom? He said, yes, I would like to speak to Mrs. C Delores Tucker. That was the request that Suge Knight made before he was sent to jail. And if you ever talk to him, he will confirm that. And he told his boys, he said, you treat her with respect. His gang was there in the courtroom, and she went outside and had a meeting with his gang.
Wow.
The most notorious gang in LA, and she was standing right in the middle of them. And they respected her because Suge Knight had told them to respect her.
So, if you don't mind, how was it for you during that time? How were you dealing with it emotionally, spiritually?
Well, it wasn't a problem for me. And I guess the good Lord prepared me for that long before I ever met her. I had a father who told me when I was a little boy, he said, son, be careful who you give your name to. So one day I finally asked him, well, Daddy, why do you keep saying, be careful who you give your name to? And he said to me, any woman that you ever give your name to, you need to be prepared to defend her honor with your life if necessary. So that was always my attitude. I was always willing to give my life to defend the honor of my wife if necessary.
I mean, we can testify. That is no joke.
So, and that's always been one of my primary principles of life. So therefore, it never bothered me one iota. I supported her morning, noon, and night. Well, you're quite accurate about that. We suffered 3 lawsuits by the entertainment industry designed to shut her up. And of course, the more they tried to, the worse she got. Because there's one thing I can say about my late wife. I was married to her almost 57 years. And I never saw her I never experienced her waking up in the morning expressing fear about anybody or anything. She was the most fearless woman I have ever encountered in my life. Morning, noon, and night, and was always ready. And as I said at her funeral, I never thought I would be standing before her funeral. I thought she would be standing before mine, because I was always ready to give my life to defend her honor.
F her. You think I care about a bitch? I ain't a sucker.
Right.
Songs
That's
titled...
not talking about women, though.
What is it talking about?
A lot of them, bitches. It's a difference. I figure a bitch is someone that does like scandalous things to you.
You have another song called Real Niggas. Why do you guys call yourself this word that has been
we didn't give ourselves this name now.
But right now in society, you guys are calling yourself niggers a lot more than...
We didn't give ourselves that name. People have been calling us niggas for years, and so we carry that word. Right now, the word is like saying homeboy.
The young people that we just saw were right on when they talked about you may not want to be a role model, but you are. You stepping out there on the stage, those young people are looking at you and they're hearing everything you're saying and they want to copy everything you're doing. And trust me, they will be violent because they don't understand. There are young girls who do not understand what it is to be a gangster B, but they know that beat is slamming and they want to be a gangster B.
You think you understand what hardcore rap is? See, I do hardcore rap. I don't do pop rap. I don't do R&B rap. I do hardcore rap. I'm what is considered the inventor of the genre. I was the first person to ever get a sticker put on my record. I was the first person to ever be the PMRC Step 2. I'm #1 on the PMRC's list. The only reason I rap like that is because I did not know how to rap any other way. This is the life I'm living. But the audience that I attracted were the kids that did not listen to anybody else. And with an unconventional enemy, it takes unconventional tactics. So with your tactics and the positiveness that you guys want, that leaves a whole sector of people that listen to music out in the open, because they ain't gonna listen to you no matter what you say. I go to the penitentiaries, I talk to the brothers that are stuck and ain't coming out. Why? Because I talk in their language. I talk in the dialogue of the streets. You would like, in a perfect world, for things to be different, but they simply aren't.
Well, you might want to talk to the brothers inside, but you have children outside who are listening, and you could
but
say
that's why you have a parent. There's a parent. There's a
a lot of their parents.
That's not my fault.
I know it's not your fault, but you have to be responsible. As a brother, you have to be responsible.
So what
it's not your fault.
But what I should do is make a record that a 4-year-old could listen to. But what happens when you go out and you watch Red Fox do comedy for adults? These records have parental guidance stickers on them. And in my opinion, a sticker that says parental guidance, any parent that needs a sticker that says guide their child
should be guiding them.
You shouldn't have to have a sticker. So it's not my fault the breakdown of the families in America. You know, my daughter, I have a daughter who listens to all the music, and I guide her through this music. But life is X-rated.
But you don't want to add to it. You have to do what you have to do in your spot.
Reverend Jesse Jackson thinks Gangsta Rap is perpetuating the problem of black-on-black violence. He is talking boycott.
Record companies that make money off of pain and degradation must be challenged to stop doing it.
Challenged how? What do you?
In some instances, they must be boycotted. We must take the profit out of pain.
Do you think these rap artists have a responsibility to their community as role models to these kids?
Indeed, the rap artists have a responsibility. Those who pay them have a responsibility. But those who set the context have an even greater responsibility. If there were not such easy access to guns and drugs and so much unemployment and so much abandonment, the rapping would be abstract. The painful reality is that the rapping is real. And somehow I get the impression that basic white mass media was to focus on rap and not reality. And I say, if you're going to cover violence, cover reality, not just rap. Rap is an extension of the culture. Let's break up the violence in the culture. And I hope y'all put that on camera because that's real. I mean, don't just pick and choose stuff out of here to fit me on one side and the rappers on the other. These are our children in trouble. They are in pain.
You know what I'm saying? They can come to my house and sit outside my house just like anybody else can. A skinhead. And once my life is gone, it's gone. Can't nobody give it back to me. Not the judge, not the president, not the governor, not Calvin Butts, not Jesse Jackson. They can't do nothing but come to my funeral and talk pretty about how black people suffer. You understand? And as far as Jesse Jackson, my first acting job was at the Apollo Theater when Jesse Jackson was running for president in 1984. It hurts me for him to say anything negative about any rapper because we supported him. He should support us. You know what I'm saying? As far as his image, you know what I'm saying? What was he doing? You know, he should be the last person talking about gun violence when he sat right there while Martin Luther King caught one in the neck.
He was in here like 5 years.
You just got out of prison.
About 8 months.
What were you in for?
For an assault on another gang member. And I was inside like a halfway house or youth home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now you're a rapper?
I'm a rapper, writer, arranger, everything.
So this music that is being so maligned is actually kind of giving you a purpose in life and something constructive to do?
Give me the only avenue I felt I had, you know.
In a lot of songs and a lot of videos, they're featured young men with guns, that sort of thing. Any of you guys carry guns? Do you?
Incriminate ourselves on camera.
No,
never. No, we don't carry guns. We carry switchblades.
He says with a smile. I mean, really, seriously.
Now, as for those three rappers in trouble, Tupac Shakur today pled innocent to charges that he shot and wounded two off-duty police officers, and Snoop Doggy Dogg plans to plead not guilty to all the charges against him. Flavor Flav is currently in drug rehabilitation. He'll be indicted.
Scott is joining us by phone. We'll let him. Hang on a second, Scott. Are you with us on the phone?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay, he's on the phone from Atlanta, and I just want to be. You were off duty that night that this happened.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And these cars just pulled up, and one of the people in the car was Tupac Shakur.
Well, I learned later that the person that shot me was Tupac.
You didn't know at the time.
No, ma'am, I did not.
Tell us. Just walk us through that night again. Tell us what happened.
It was a verbal confrontation with a motorist that I don't think was associated with Tupac Shakur. After leaving away from that scene, Mr. Shakur and his entourage, I found out later, pulled up and surrounded myself and my brother and my sister-in-law, and made threats, and they were armed in an attempt to get my sister-in-law from the scene. While I run away from the scene, Mr. Shakur shot me in the back.
Now, hang on a second. I know that you are not here to, the man has been killed, and you're not here to judge him, but he also was not convicted or charged. Is it
No,
true?
ma'am.
Why, Scott, do you think he was never charged?
Ma'am, I had nothing to do with that. That was out of my control. I'm not here to judge Mr. Shakur. I think it's tragic the way he was killed, but it's ironic he was killed the same way that he tried to kill me.
How do you respond, Scott, to the fact that when we said he wasn't charged, the audience actually applauded in this room?
Well,
how do you feel about that?
I don't, everyone's got their own opinion. I can't judge their opinion.
Were you surprised when he was killed?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Basically what happened on the night of the shooting, we had crossed the street and just about made it across when a blue car tried to make a right turn. The car almost struck us through while we were walking. There was a little verbal confrontation between ourselves and the driver. The 2 carloads of people pulled up, and the first person that stepped towards me had a pistol sticking out of his belt. I made it across this street here, and it was about that point I heard gunshots ringing out. And I felt one of them strike me in the back, in my waist area. I mean, obviously I was devastated at the time of the shooting. I thought it was crazy that a famous singer will be out shooting someone in the back.
Get a 9mm and blow somebody's head off. You can't do that. You know, it's every kind of music you have. You can't ignore that violence is right now. Freaking violence, and it might stop happening. You control your own destiny. Nobody can control your destiny. You control your destiny.
It's on the screen. And poetry and power and pistol dropping and murdering those mother blanks before they get you. Picturing pitiful plump, the N-word, copping please, puffing the weed as I position myself to clock G's, which is other gangsters. Now, who's going to tell me that is not going to have any impact on a young, impressionable mind? Yeah.
We can't just put it on the media of rapping. What about the cartoons that they have out that's not so real, and our kids looking at it like Beavis and Butthead? What about that in the hard rap? Not just the back in the
Here, let me introduce Tanya. She says rap music glamorization of gang life is partly responsible for her son's desire to be in the gang. Your son is 16 years old?
Yes.
Right? Has he ever been in trouble?
Well, he done been jumped on a couple of times from other gang members. He is in the gang.
Was he shot?
No,
he was not shot.
No, he done been hospitalized with broken parts of his body. You know, but I would like to say I don't think not saying rap music itself, gangsta rap. I mean, the kids listen to that. I mean, forget the fact, you know, that it's on the parents and all that. I understand that and I agree to that to a certain point. But the bottom line is they listen to that music. Y'all glorified, you know, and
going on in your neighborhood.
Okay.
People are growing up around this situation every day.
Exactly. Okay.
You don't have to listen to make rap music when you can walk outside your door.
Exactly. Okay.
But rap music ain't helping it on. Okay, they go outside, they doing the hit, and they hit with rap music. We're not just putting it on rap music, we put every rap music.
Hang on 1 second, Johnny. Thank you. I just want to say music does not mold the person because the person is already molded. Jesse Dahmer didn't kill them people because he heard that in Tupac. He killed them because he was hungry. He was crazy.
You know, there's already the conclusion that this has something to do with gangster rap. Suppose we find out this had nothing to do with gangster rap. We've already labeled all of the rap artists as guilty. The thing that's strange to me is, where are the big record company executives that make the money off of these rappers? That tell them if you don't curse, if you don't call women out their name, if you don't have violence, you can't have a video. If we don't have them on television explaining anything, but you got mothers, you got children explaining things. They don't make the millions off of rap. Right. It's the big guys out in Malibu who are not going to come forward and say anything. We need to deal with the standards of violence in this country and not blame it on young black men.
Mr. Ernie Singleton, President of Black Music Division, MCA Records. Mr. David Harleston, President of Ral Def Jam Recording, and Yo-Yo, recording artist with the East West Records.
Hip-hop has provided an extraordinary avenue of artistic expression for African American youth, and it has economically empowered a generation of artists, producers, and others who have imported hip-hop culture and music into areas such as fashion, film, advertising, comedy, television, and publishing. Madam Chairwoman, I would be less than candid if I did not acknowledge my concerns about this hearing. During the past year, the hip-hop community has been the subject of intense scrutiny concerning the role of rap music in our culture. Some critics have suggested, for example, that rap music glorifies violence, degrades women, and erodes community values. I do not question the sincerity of those who have expressed those views. However, I strongly believe that those views are myopic. Let's be clear. Like all artists, hip-hop artists are products of their environment. Their environments have influenced who they are and the kinds of music that they make. Accordingly, hip-hop artists frequently relate experiences which many find unsettling or uncomfortable. That is precisely the point that certain artists are trying to make. However, it is increasingly apparent that certain opponents of hip-hop music are of the misguided view that if we do not hear about the issues raised and addressed in the music, then those issues will not exist. In fact, one could argue that efforts to suppress hip-hop artists are efforts to ignore unpleasant realities that exist in America's backyard. Such a view simply denies reality. Silencing the messenger will not extinguish the problem. While I am here today to discuss hip-hop culture and the recording industry, I hope that we can also begin a constructive conversation about the conditions to which some members of our society are subjected, conditions which, in fact, make gangsterism appear to be a reasonable life choice. As a record company, Def Jam is essentially a manufacturer, marketer, promoter, and distributor of recorded music to consumers. Fundamentally, we discover, develop, and sell music. In so doing, we work closely with artists, managers, and producers, all of whom have a direct and immediate interest in the success of a particular recording. When we make a decision to sign an artist, that decision fully embraces the artist's vision. Our primary inquiry is whether the artist is authentic and distinctive. In our view, the dominant concern is that an artist write and rap from important experiences in that artist's life.
This young lady, Lachelle Laws, I understand is her name, and the article is entitled "How a Nice Middle-Class Girl Evolved into a Gangster Rapper."
There's a lot of problems, you know. We had to go out to LA and struggle for 3 years, you know what I'm saying, real hard. So, but we shopped the tape and we stayed true to it, and then we got signed, so we just doing our own thing now.
So the track, I Don't Give a F***, tells you all about the problems in LA?
No, it was just a point that we had got to, you know. But we ain't give a fuck, you know what I'm saying? You gotta stick to it, you know what I'm saying? It's a business.
Okay, so your style is basically hardcore. Is there any other versatility, or is it just hardcore?
We got gang of flavors, you know what I'm saying? But it's mainly street underground, you know?
Okay, how do you define hardcore rap?
Hardcore? Well, my meaning of hardcore is, from me personally, it's like when we say, you know, we coming from the streets, we just telling, you know, basically how we feel and where we coming from, you know what I'm saying? I think everybody got their own meaning of hardcore, but to me, we just, you know, or give an explanation of, you know, what it's like, you know, in the streets and, you know what I'm saying, trying to survive.
Okay, what are some of your influences?
What are some of my influences, or who are? Well, I like Ice Cube, Ghetto Boys, NWA, LL. He got a lot of messages and stuff. So that's basically it.
Okay, what's the favorite track on the album?
On our album?
What's your favorite?
We got a few.
I like a lot of them.
Recipe of a Hoe, Explanation of a Mad Bitch, Progress of Elimination. It's a lot of them. I think is real funky. We had a lot of different producers, so it's a lot of flavor, you know.
A little more of a tough time doing that. I'm not quite sure why. But if you listen to the entire album and get a full sense of what this persona is, you understand that this is a frustrated, angry, and frankly a little bit crazy person, a member of the hardcore hip hop community. She is very experienced sexually. She has been involved with drugs. The persona now, not the individual, Lachelle Laws, and really paints a movie-like picture of the individual, the character, and the situations in which she finds herself. I think it's very important to understand, and in my statement, you recall, I made reference to the inability of a number of listeners to accord hip-hop artists credit for the kinds of uses of metaphor and imagery and other techniques that in other literary and artistic contexts are presumed, frankly, with respect to the artist concerned. But when viewed in that context, the character, Voss, is very real. And that's the story.
Mr. Singleton, in your testimony, you state that MCA Records' Black Music Division doesn't underestimate the significance and importance of its social responsibilities in your role as a good corporate citizen. The question is it socially responsible and good corporate citizenry to make millions of dollars off of the sexually explicit or graphically violent lyrics that's sometimes used in gangsta rap? Either of you, or anybody at the table.
Madam Chairwoman, in all fairness, I would defer passing that on to someone else. We do not have any gangster rap music on the MCA label.
Mr. Harleston?
Yeah, the question, I think, presumes the kind of almost oversimplified analysis or definition, rather, of gangster rap or of the issue of the problem. Clearly, as a company, we feel a sense of social responsibility. We feel that responsibility to our community as African Americans, and we feel that responsibility to the very individuals who are raising the issues that we're discussing today. In many respects, and I think some would acknowledge that the purpose of what has been called gangsta rap here today has been served, because we are talking about it and it is upsetting people. I don't think the response is making a lot of sense, because the response is, let's stop the expression or the definition or the articulation of the problem, rather than what I think it should be, which is, let's address the problem. Let's address the problems in education. Let's address the problems in unemployment. Let's address the problems that are plaguing and have plagued our community.
Being from Los Angeles and going over to the East Coast, there is a difference. They're more culturally motivated than the West Coast, I feel. I feel the West Coast are so involved with gangs, drugs. It's like they're locked into a cave. It's like they're shelled in. You know when you're in the neighborhood of the young gangbangers are just the black neighborhood. You know when you're in the hood, and you know when you're out of the hood. And it's like that in everywhere you go. I think that West Coast rappers tend to be more hardcore, which you would call it, because reality of Los Angeles or the West Coast is so hard. We can't run from the problem that surround us. If we talk about the situations that may be detrimental to someone's ears, they may feel, or may be harmful to a child, you may feel, it is reality. And kids are listening to it because they see it, and they don't see it from your eyes like you see it. They see it from looking at it. They see it from across the street. They see it from their mother using drugs. They see it from bums laying on the corner. They see it from the tore up neighborhoods and drive-by shootings. So it's not as harsh as you make it seem. It's reality for us. These words are not as intimidating to me as they are to you. Although I am a feminist, and although I will not and will never let anyone call me a bitch or a hoe, I am not offended when the word is used, because it has become a slang word in the neighborhood that is not as intimidating as my mother may take it or someone else may take it.
I'd like to add something else.
I think one of the things that wasn't done earlier that we need to do is discuss the difference between what MCA Records is and what Def Jam Records is in relation to the overall development of rap music. That is, the rap music from its earliest roots in New York City in the early 80s was a music that was made by independent labels, put out by independent labels, mostly initially black-owned. Enjoy Records, owned by a gentleman named Bobby Robinson, has a record store on 125th Street. Sylvia Robinson, who was a recording artist, called Sugar Hill Records out of New Jersey. For most of rap's history, up until, I'd say, 1987 or so, rap music was totally an independent product. Tommy Boy Records, Profile Records, etc. These are all independent entities that are not involved with major corporate structures. In 1987 or so, I believe, Russell Simmons and Def Jam made a deal with CBS Records for distribution, then CBS, now Sony. In the wake of that deal, a number of other independent labels, such as Tommy Boy, I believe, Cold Chilling, these are all independent labels, made deals for distribution of the product. But the actual product itself came through independent labels. To this day, now in 1994, Def Jam basically is an autonomous organization that makes the records it wants to make. Tommy Boy does likewise, and they have a deal with Warner Brothers. These independently owned companies are basically the lifeblood of rap music. The major labels only in the last few years have actually signed rap artists directly to their labels. To this day, in fact, a lot of the records that are being objected about, such as the things made by the 2 Live Crew, records maybe by Ice Cube, Ice-T, now, most of NWA's product is through independent labels. These are labels that are not affiliated with major corporations. Many of these labels are owned by black entrepreneurs and black businessmen, of rich white men sitting in big towers on 6th Avenue who are deciding that we should put these records out. That is not how rap music works. Rap music works because independent entrepreneurs, mostly black, make these records for an audience mostly black, that now the music has sort of crossed over to whites to some degree. But it is still very much a black created, black directed, black targeted product. Even at our Ernie's label, Uptown Records is owned by a young man named Andre Harrell, who's totally an ex-rapper himself, and now has his own rap label. Heavy D is one of his artists, who is distributed by MCA, but Andre is fully aware and control of the product that comes out through that label. So I just want to put it in context that this music is very much a product of our community, very much a product of our young business community. And I guess a subset of that discussion is that in the last 10 years, I started a record business as a writer in 1981, my first real job. I am a product of rap music in the sense that my career as a writer has been elevated and informed by the development of this music. I can parallel my career and my development as a writer by my ability to write about rap music at a point where no one wanted to write about it back 10 years ago or so. And most of the people I know who are my friends, including Russell Simmons and Andre Harrell, etc., were all young men in New York City in the late 70s, early 80s trying to find a way into a business. And rap music has funneled out, and we have done well, and people coming up behind us have done well. There's an industry that did not exist prior to rap music's creation that was a point of entry into a business that was locked out for young black people. There are so many black college graduates, there's so many 25 to 30-year-old young black men and women who are employed in the record industry in a wide range of activities because of this music. So I just think we need to understand the role of rap music both as an economic force within the black community, as an employment source, and as a cultural source, which we discussed mostly. Rap is a multifaceted environment, and gangsta rap, as we know it, is one factor in an overall tapestry of music. So let's put that in context. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you said something. Right there. You did. I said, how do you keep on doing? That's $1 million. Remember everything you would do? I said, that's $1 million. Yeah. We still ain't $1 million. I like this. But you could. But that first time was